All right, so we're back and we're still on the edge of Lake Ruby and Lake Wells. And I don't know if you guys went through the orientation process where you follow the backwards walker around campus and they tell you that this is Lake Ruby and Lake Wells and that one of these lakes was built by the founder of the university and his wife got mad because she wanted a lake, and so he came and built another one. And if you go up in the top of the library, if you look, it looks like the state of Georgia. You probably heard that story. That story is 100% false. And me saying that isn't to degrade the value of the story as much that, in life in general and in this class and in other places, I think it's important that you guys take a critical view of things that you're told. Don't just assume that because somebody tells you that a rich man built 2 lakes, one for him and his wife, that that's the actual case. I want you guys to be able to think critically about why these are here and what purpose do they serve. So, is the installation of these lakes a sustainable resource? Right? What could they possibly have been used for? Well, if you live in an apartment complex in Statesboro or the other areas, you probably see a water feature in it, right? If you go to golf courses, you'll see that there's a water feature there. Lots of construction sources have, lots of construction areas have lakes that are in them. A lot of them have fountains, like you can see the fountain behind me. These are not necessarily created simply for aesthetic views. Granted, it is nice to have this lake here, but what other purpose would this have been made for? If you glance around at the buildings, you'll see that just about everywhere is elevated, right? You can see the library is higher, and if you look off into these buildings, you can see that it slopes up to them. The reason that it slopes up is not necessarily because that's how the original landscape was, but because to improve the foundation, soil was needed to be added under the building sites. Where do you think that soil was attained from? Lake Ruby and Lake Wells. These are in fact called borrow pits. Borrow pits are area that soil is borrowed from to be used in other areas. Why is it a sustainable practice to have a borrow pit on the same site as your building? It should make complete sense that the transport distance from this pit to that building is minimal, almost zero. Where if we have to buy soil from another site, put it into a truck it here, and then deposit it on our site, we've not only spent money in the process, but we've also used an enormous amount of diesel fuel in the process. So this is a much more sustainable approach, not only sustainable to the environment, but sustainable to the builder's pocketbook, to the bottom line. So it's not so much, a revelation that this is happening, as much as I just want you guys to be able to understand that there is a purpose for this rather than just being an aesthetic feature. Additionally, as we look at these fountains, right? Did the developer just decide that these fountains would be pretty? Do they serve a purpose? And of course the answer is yes, they do. If you guys ever saw Finding Nemo, when the little fish got into the pump and threw the rock in it so that it stopped the pumping and the aquarium turned green, that's exactly what would happen to these lakes if we did not have constant circulation via these fountains. So when you're out in life and you're out in the world looking around at things, take a critical look. Don't just walk by passively and decide that yes, they were built here for the vanity of the construction owner and his wife. Most things in life will have a purpose that you can discern if you sit and think about it for a minute.